Currently, there isn't much news in the NFL, so I decided to make a bit of a different video. Today I'm going to be talking about the best defensive player drafted in each NFL draft from 2010 all the way up to 2020. What's up everybody, it's AC Analysis, and today I'm going to be talking about the best defensive player drafted in each NFL draft from 2010 all the way up to 2020. So like I said in the intro, this will be a little different from my normal videos, but if you guys enjoy consistent football content, liking and subscribing would be really helpful. We're on the road to 50 subscribers and every sub helps. And if you guys disagree with anything, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Before I say whoever's the best defensive player in the 2010 NFL Draft, I first want to name some honorable mentions. Two honorable mentions are Geno Atkins and Kam Chancellor, both elite players, and Geno Atkins still plays in the league today. But the winner, in my opinion, has to be Earl Thomas. Earl Thomas was also drafted in the first round, but the reason I picked Earl Thomas over Kam Chancellor is because Earl Thomas has still played in the league now. Earl Thomas and Kam Chancellor were both a part of a defense called the Legion of Boom, which helped the Seattle Seahawks win the Super Bowl in 2014. But Earl Thomas has had more staying power, and in 2019 he is still an elite player. He saved his dead career in 2019 when he signed with the Baltimore Ravens, and he got kicked off of the Ravens for domestic abuse violence, but now he's looking for a new team. But at the end of the day, he is still in the NFL and he's still an elite player, so I'm going to have to put Earl Thomas as the best defensive player in the 2010 NFL Draft. Now coming into the 2011 NFL Draft, two honorable mentions are Patrick Peterson and Von Miller. Patrick Peterson has been an elite cornerback in the league since 2011, and he was drafted very high in the draft. But Von Miller was the number 2 overall pick, and he's been a very elite player in the league for a very long time. And he's injured for the rest of the season, but he's still a very good player. But the winner for the best defensive player in the league drafted in 2011 will have to be J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt has been on a bit of a decline recently, but he was a very elite player, winning 3 Defensive Players of the Year awards. And from years 2012 to 2015, he averaged about 15 sacks a season, he just dominated the NFL. Then he got injured for a few seasons. Coming back in 2018, he had a 20-sack performance, showing back his old self. And then 2019, he got injured again. But 2020, he's on a very hot start. So J.J. Watt has been a very good player that's had some injury issues. But I'm going to have to put him over Von Miller because of just certainly how dominant he was in the NFL. And the fact that he was able to win 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards in 4 years. Now for the 2012 NFL Draft, it was a very difficult one. But some honorable mentions include defensive tackle Fletcher Cox. They include Chandler Jones. They include Stephon Gilmore and Bobby Wagner, all some of the best defensive players in the NFL to this day. But the winner, in my opinion, has to go to Luke Kuechly. Luke Kuechly was drafted very early in the draft, and scouts thought very highly of him, and for good reason. For quite a few years, him and Bobby Wagner were in a competition for the best middle linebacker in the league, and Luke Kuechly always seemed ahead. Injuries ended his career in 2019, but every year in his career, he averaged over 120 tackles, 3 interceptions, and like 3 sacks. So this man put up crazy stats, but he was also a very smart leader for a very good defense in the Carolina Panthers defense. And he led the Panthers to a Super Bowl in 2016. So because of this, even though I really want to put some of those other players in, I'm going to have to put Luke Kuechly because of how dominant he was in the NFL. The 2013 NFL Draft didn't have that much defensive talent. Some examples of players to win honorable mentions would be Xavier Rhodes, Darius Slay, and AJ Bouye. But in my opinion, the winner is easily the Honey Badger Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu's had a great career, and he was drafted with the 4th overall pick in the 3rd round. He was supposed to be a first rounder, but scouts were very worried about his very short stature. But he came into the NFL guns blazing, with 70 tackles and 4 interceptions. And he played the first 4 years of his career with the Cardinals until eventually he signed with the Texans and then the Chiefs, where he's had a very good career with the Chiefs. He's been consistent his entire career and is easily one of the best safeties of this generation, even winning a Super Bowl with the Chiefs in 2019. The 2014 NFL Draft might go down as one of the best drafts in NFL history, and the honorable mention will actually be Khalil Mack, one of the most dominant players in the NFL, and he's still a very good player right now, playing for the Bears. But the winner has to be Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year award winner, and he even got number 1 ranked on the NFL's top 100 list. He is a very good player and easily deserves to be at the top of this list. I don't think I need to explain myself that much, but just the dominance he's had, and he even, as a defensive tackle, led his team to a Super Bowl, where they got destroyed in the most boring game in NFL history to the Patriots. But Donald has had a very good career, and it's only uphill from here. So Aaron Donald is definitely the winner for the best defensive player drafted in the 2014 NFL Draft. Now for the 2015 NFL Draft, there really isn't much crazy superstar name talent. They're just some okay complementary players. So for the honorable mention, I'm going to have to go with Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter has been a really solid defensive end for the Vikings, and he now just signed with the Cowboys. But I'm also going to go with Grady Jarrett, who's been a very good defensive tackle for the Falcons. But the winner is going to have to be Frank Clark. Frank Clark is an elite defensive end for the Chiefs, and he started his career with the Seahawks, and his draft prospecting wasn't actually that high. Scouts didn't think the greatest of him, and he played very well in the NFL after being drafted for the Seahawks. And then he moved to the Chiefs and has had a very good career there. In 2020, in 3 weeks, he already has 2 sacks and 6 tackles. So he's not a very elite superstar type player, but he's good enough to be the best player drafted in the 2015 NFL Draft. The 2016 NFL Draft wasn't very stacked for defensive players, but the honorable mention, in my opinion, easily goes to Joey Bosa. He's been an elite pass rusher in the league since 2016, and he's still a very young player. He was really hyped up by scouts, and for a very good reason. He's a very good player and a very good pass rusher. But the winner has to be Chris Jones, who has really stood out from the rest of the defensive linemen in the league. He's a really good defensive tackle, averaging about 10 sacks a season right now. And 2020, he's on a really good pace with already having 4.5 sacks. So he's a very good defensive end, and the core of that Chiefs defense. He wasn't that hyped up by scouts, but in my opinion, he is easily the best defensive player taken in this draft, and I'm sure you guys agree with me too. The 2017 NFL Draft might be one of the greatest drafts in recent NFL history, might even be topping the 2014 NFL Draft. It has great defensive talent, including Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Marshawn Lattimore, and Tre'Davious White, all top-tier players at their position. But the winner has to be Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams is such a threat, and he started his career with the Jets and then moved to the Seahawks, where he has not slowed down whatsoever. In 2020, he already has 23 tackles, 2 sacks, and an interception. So he is playing very well. 2017 to 2019, he was easily one of the best, if not the best safety in the league. In my opinion, the best safety in the league. Averaging 90 tackles a season. He averaging an interception and 3 sacks. He makes such a presence, and he's very good at covering, and he's very good at zone defense. Scouts really hyped up Jamal Adams, and it was for a good reason. All of these defensive players like Myles Garrett and TJ Watt are all really elite players. But the winner has to be Jamal Adams, because he's easily one of, if not the best defensive player in the league at this moment right now. And now we're getting to the part of the video where we're dealing with some really young players, and we still really don't know how good they're going to be in the NFL. They've shown some flashes, but they might not be elite yet. And examples of that are Derwin James, and Minkah Fitzpatrick, and Denzel Ward, who have really showed shines in the NFL. But a player that, in my opinion, has already solidified himself as one of the best linebackers in the league is Bradley Chubb. He wasn't crazy hyped out coming out of college, but the Denver Broncos decided to select him in the first round, and he's been a great complement to Von Miller, making their defensive line deadly. He's averaged about 10 sacks a season, and he's been playing very well. So in my opinion, he is easily one of the best defensive players in the league right now. Maybe not one of the best, but he was a great complement to Von Miller, making their defensive line very scary and making their defense very scary. So in my opinion, it has to easily be Bradley Chubb. Now we're getting into the very young players, and for the 2019 NFL Draft, it's kind of difficult to tell how good these players will be yet, but an honorable mention will be Devin White, who's really solidified himself as a solid linebacker for the Buccaneers. But the winner easily has to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year, Nick Bosa. It has to easily be him because 1, he won Defensive Rookie of the Year, but 2, because he actually put up solid stats, 9 sacks, 45 tackles, 1 interception. He was the number 1 overall draft pick for the 49ers, and he really helped turn their defense around into the best defense in the league. Unfortunately, in 2020, he tore his ACL and is going to be out for the entire season. That's an unfortunate turn of events, but Nick Bosa has really showed that he's a great player in the NFL, leading the 49ers to a Super Bowl and losing to Patrick Mahomes. But Nick Bosa hopefully has many good years to come, and hopefully he does not get injured. And yes, he is brothers to Joey Bosa. Now for the 2020 NFL season, we have barely actually seen these players play, but from what I've seen, I believe that Isaiah Simmons is the honorable mention. He was the second defensive player taken in the draft, and the first defensive player taken in the draft was actually Chase Young, and he is easily the best defensive player in this draft so far, because he has 2.5 sacks, 6 tackles as a rookie in his first 3 games into the NFL. He's been the best player in that Washington Redskins defense, and there's not much for me to talk about since I've not really seen him play that much. But I believe right now, based off his stats alone, he's the best defensive player drafted in the 2020 NFL Draft. With that being said, that'll wrap up this video. This has been AC Analysis on the best defensive player drafted in each NFL Draft. If you guys enjoy consistent football content, liking and subscribing would be really helpful. We're on the road to 50, and I'm sorry for not making a video for a while. I've just been really busy with some extra assignments. But thank you guys for sticking with me, and see you in the next video.